Please rise. 34th District Court of General Assessor in the honor of Tina Brooks Green presiding.
Have a seat. Calling People versus Timothy Moore, Shandon, Groom, and Shane Evans. Good morning, everyone. This is a continuation from an exam that started yesterday. Ms. Shackelford, we are in the middle of the testimony. Anybody have any preliminary issues?
No, Judge.
Okay.
It can wait till after this witness.
Okay. Everybody can have a seat. Go ahead, Ms. Shackelford.
All right, thank you. Sergeant Strait, do you recall yesterday I asked you some questions about whether or not you Mirandized Mr. Evans prior to taking a statement from him?
I do, yes.
Over the last night, did you have an opportunity to re-watch that interrogation?
I did, yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you, and I'm going to approach again with People's Proposed Exhibit 43.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, on this section of Miranda warnings 1 through 6,
yes,
did you read those aloud to him?
I did, yes.
Okay. And did you give him an opportunity to read them himself?
I did, and so I read it out loud to him, and then I explained it and read it out loud again.
And next to each of these, how it says SE, SE, whose initials are those?
Those are Shane Evans.
And who put those initials there?
Shane Evans.
Okay. And then under the waiver, it says, do you understand each of these rights that I've explained to you? And there's an answer there, yes. Who wrote that?
Shane Evans.
Okay. And then it says, are you willing to give up these rights and answer my questions? And there it says verbal. Who wrote that?
I did.
Okay. And then down here, did you fill out this bottom portion?
I did, except for the complaint number, which was Detective Sergeant.
Okay. And Your Honor, at this time, I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 43.
No objection for exam purposes.
No objection, Your Honor.
I would not object for exam purposes.
Okay. It's admitted for exam purposes only. Thank you.
Now, Sergeant Street, over the course of that interrogation, did you talk to Mr. Evans about a phone number he may have, or I'm sorry, that he did have back in 2017?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and do you recall, did he give you a phone number?
He did, yes.
All right, and what was the phone number?
I have to look at the report to get the exact numbers on.
Would refresh your memory?
It would.
All right, I'm handing this is supplement 32. Can you take a moment to review that and tell me when you've had the opportunity?
Yes.
You ready?
Mhm.
Okay, can you tell me what the number was that he gave you?
Yeah, 734-858-0132.
Thank you. And did you also, as part of your investigation, receive some returns from Google with respect to geofence or location?
I did, yes.
Google location? I'm going to approach with People's Proposed 45. Do you recognize this document, sir?
I do, yes.
Okay, and are those Google records with a certificate of authenticity with them?
They are.
Okay. And specifically, do you, Your Honor, I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 45.
Joseph?
No objection for exam purposes.
Same, Your Honor.
No
That's why.
objection.
It's admitted for exam purposes.
And sir, what is this Google document pertaining to?
So there was a Google search warrant submitted for a geofence of the area of Egypt Covington's residence at the time and date of her homicide. And when you receive your final notification from Google, it'll state that who owned the cellular device that pinged in the area that you requested. And this one states that the Google device that pinged in that area at our time requested was Arthur Richardson.
Right. And was there a phone number attached to that Google device?
There was. It was a, they have it listed as 1-419-206-4931.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sir, do you recall having an interrogation with Shandon Groom?
I do.
All right, and would that have been on December 22nd, 2020?
It would have been.
And at that time, was he Mirandized?
He was.
Did you read all of his rights to him?
I did.
All right, and was he willing to fill out the advice form?
I'd have to see the document. Sure. Yep, he also did a verbal as well for both of those. The 2 questions, no initials next to the 1 through 6.
Okay, and, okay, no further questions. Was that, let me ask you, was that, Your Honor, I'd move for admission of people's proposed 30.
No objection for exam purposes.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted for exam purposes only.
And Sergeant Street, during that interrogation of Shandon Groom, were any other officers present with you?
Yes, Detective Sergeant Plummer.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Joseph?
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
On direct, you testified to a Google kind of aerial view of Miss Covington's house. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And there were other homes next to her house,
That's
right? Okay. About how many?
Directly, there's one at least to the right and to the left, east and west of her.
Okay. And there were a few more to the east side of her as well, right?
To the east side, correct? Yes.
Okay. All right. And those houses were there in 2017 as well, right?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. So just because someone drove down Hull Road, it doesn't mean they were necessarily going to her house, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And it wasn't as if this road was just a one house road, meaning her house wasn't the only house on the road, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. You testified on direct about some gas station photos. I think it was 44 and 31. Do you recall that? The screen.
I believe, yeah, from the video, the clips from the video.
Yes, and photos of the gas station camera as well.
Oh, of itself, yes.
Yes, okay. And those photos, those were taken in 2021, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so not in 2017.
That's correct.
All right, and you testified about a blue Dodge Ram truck.
That's
quite a bit. You never saw that blue Dodge Ram in 2017, right?
2017. Other than the video, no, not in person, just from the video.
Okay, so never saw it in person.
That's right.
And when you saw that Dodge Ram truck, that was for the first time, that in person, that was in 2021.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so you don't actually know what that Dodge Ram truck looked like in person in 2017, right?
Not in person, just the video.
Okay. When did you start investigating this case?
I believe it was August of 2020.
You testified about the Google Geofence. And it's my understanding that you or someone on your team actually goes through the list that you received from Google, and you are the one who determines what devices are relevant. Is that accurate?
Somewhat. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would depend on case-by-case basis. In this instance, everybody who pinged at that house would be significant to request information about.
Okay, so, and you received a search warrant return from Google saying the next step is you go through the list, you tell us who or what devices seem relevant to you, and then we give you more information. That's right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so basically Google is giving you information based on what devices you determine is relevant, right?
You could. In this instance, I requested any and all. That's what I put in all of my search warrants returns when I send an email out to Google or through their portal. I request any and all information based on the pings that I have. Because usually when I construct the search warrant itself, I do it in such a limited area where I typically wouldn't have any cross traffic or whatnot. So it's already pretty narrowed down at that point. So if I get a return back, even if it's one ping and there's a million other pings there, I'll still request any and all information for that individual.
But that geofence area, it could have included other homes on Hull Road, right?
Not the initial one, no.
Okay, the follow-up one?
I'd have to see the follow-up one for the parameters of it.
Okay, all right. Now, you testified that you requested the geofence for the time and date of Miss Covington's death.
It was, I'm sorry.
All right,
I'll get into
I'll ask the question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I know you have a lot of information to do, but,
Yes.
and it's my understanding you're basing the time of death around a Snapchat that Miss Covington's sister provided to you, right?
Yes, so the approximate last known time of her being alive to the first time she was found deceased, reported.
Okay, and that's based on a Snapchat,
I
right?
believe it was, yes.
Okay, and you understand that Snapchat doesn't tell you a specific time, right?
I
It
don't.
just says about 22 hours. It doesn't say 22 hours and 59 minutes, for example.
I don't have Snapchat, I'm kind of unfamiliar with it.
And you didn't research it during the course of your investigation?
Snapchat?
Yes.
No, I did not.
Okay, so you're basing the time of death off of a Snapchat, but you did not research Snapchat or the times that Snapchat portrays to its users.
Yeah, so it would be based on the information provided by other law enforcement agencies working on the case. That's how I'd get the information for that.
And did you serve a search warrant on Snapchat to determine when Ms. Covington last used that application?
I personally did not.
Did anyone in the course of your investigation, as a co-OIC, I think as the prosecution called you?
I don't recall if they did or not.
Okay. Let's talk about the gas station video.
Yes.
Now, it's my understanding that based on your review of it, you believe this blue Dodge Ram truck turns down Hull Road at 2340. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And after that, it's your understanding that truck stays on Hull Road for about 2 minutes before coming back to the gas station, right?
I know they went in the direction of Hall Road. There's other roads throughout the neighborhood there. I don't know if they were on there entirely the whole time. All I see is the video itself of it turning down Hall Road and then returning from Hall Road to the fuel station. So
Okay.
I have a video of the continuous travel down Hall Road.
Okay. So all you know is that truck turned down Hull Road at 2340, and 2 minutes later, it was back at the gas station.
That's correct.
Okay. And so we don't know where that truck went down Hull Road, and if that truck even stopped or went anywhere near Miss Covington's house, right?
I don't have any video of that.
Okay. And so then the truck comes back to the gas station 2 minutes later at 2343, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, does a turnaround, and then the gas station turns back down, or I'm sorry, the truck drives out of the gas station and back down Hull Road and comes back down past the gas station at 2349.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so that's 6 minutes after it did the turnaround, the truck comes back down past the gas station, right?
Yes, that'd be correct.
Okay, all right, so I'm just trying to make sure I understand your timeline of events here. So under your theory of the case, you believe that this blue Ram truck, who was purportedly, involved in this offense, in 8 minutes, that truck drove down Hull Road, drove past or did whatever it did on Hull Road for 2 minutes, comes back to the gas station, turns around, goes back down Hull Road for another 6 minutes, and in that 6 minute time parks wherever it's going to park, gets out of the car, walks up to Miss Covington's front door, figures out how to enter the front door, gets up to Miss Covington's door to her specific side of the duplex, figures out how to deal with the key code issue since they don't know it, goes into the home, walks through the kitchen area, into the open living room, rips off some lights off a curtain rod, however that happened, ties up Miss Covington, shoots her in the head with a pillow over her head, and then doesn't take anything, but leaves and then drives back down Hull Road. All of that happens, under your theory, within 8 minutes, right?
Yeah, you just described it in about a minute and a half. And other than parking, walking in, it would take about that much time to do it, I guess, yeah.
Okay, so you think all of that happened in 8 minutes, and that includes the driving time down Hull Road and then up and back into the gas station. And under your theory, you think this murder allegedly happened after the turnaround in the gas station, right?
Well, I don't know. What I'm basing it off of is when the geographical locations were pinging off her Wi-Fi device in her house based on the truck's movements. So obviously I wasn't inside the house when it happened. I'm just basing it off the evidence that we recovered from the Google device and the truck itself.
So your testimony today is that you don't know when this alleged homicide happened, whether it was in that 2-minute time frame or the 6-minute time frame, right?
No, I like I said, I wasn't there. The only person there would have that information. But based on when that Google device pinged off of the Wi-Fi router, it appears that they entered the house, whoever is holding that cellular device, after the 3-point turn at the fuel station.
Okay. So then that would mean all of those things that I described about entering the home through the double doors, putting the code in, going through the kitchen, going into the living room, figuring out, looking around, where are the lights, pulling them off of the curtain rod, unhooking the curtain rod, whatever had to be done there, tying her up, finding the pillow, putting the pillow over her head, getting the gun out, shooting her, all of those things then under that theory happened in 6 minutes. Oh, and I'm sorry, also leaving, getting back in the car, driving down the road.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Just making sure we're clear on the time here. And did you watch the gas station footage after midnight?
No, I did not.
So you, again, let me just get this straight. You are a co-officer in charge of this case, which is a very important cold case that has been being investigated since 2017 without any formal charges until my client. And you did not watch the gas station footage after midnight?
I believe it cut off at 9 something. I had to watch the video to when it cut off. So it didn't capture past, I'm sorry, it cut off. I have to see the clip on it again. I have to see.
Okay, so under your theory, this blue truck leaves the gas station at 12:49, so 10 minutes before midnight. And you don't know what happened on that footage after midnight.
Oh, yes, the second clip, I do recall, but nothing significant jumped out at me.
Okay. And do you recall that other cars drove down Hull Road that night?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And specifically at 11:23, a silver truck drove down Hull Road, right?
At 11:23?
Yep, PM.
I don't remember.
You don't remember that. So it's fair to say that you didn't investigate whoever drove that silver truck down Hull Road at 11:23, right?
No, I did not.
Okay. And also at 11:27, a black truck drives down Hull Road towards Miss Covington's house.
Okay.
Do you know who drove that truck?
I do not know.
Did you investigate that person?
No, I did not.
Okay. And at 11:29, there is a person standing in the corner of the gas station, and that person continues to walk around and look right towards where Miss Covington's house was located. Did you investigate that person?
I did not know.
At 11:53, another car drives down Hull Road. Did you investigate that car?
No, I did not.
So let's see here. My math skills are not great, but 2 minutes after that blue truck drives past the gas station, leaving Hull Road, another car comes down Hull Road. Within the time frame that you have determined this homicide allegedly occurred, and you didn't investigate that car?
No.
Okay. During the course of your investigation, some neighbors were spoken to, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And some neighbors explained that they heard a gunshot around 10 p.m., right?
Your Honor, I'm gonna object, it's hearsay.
Well, I can rephrase the question so it doesn't require hearsay.
Then do it.
during the course of your investigation, you discovered some evidence that gunshots may have been heard around 10 p.m.
I didn't interview anybody who said that to me, but I believe there was something documented in a report.
Okay. And again, as a co-OIC.
So again, I'm gonna object to her
She's not going to ask another question about that, are you, Ms.
Nope,
Wilson?
we're moving on. You know what, Judge? I think I'm all set.
Mr. Goldstein,
I'm going to ask a question. It's a little bit out of order, but I want to do it so I don't forget. In her questioning, Ms. Joseph asked you about your view of the video of the truck.
Yes.
Blue truck. You said you saw the blue truck pull into the parking lot, the gas station, do a 3-point turn, then go back down Hull Road.
The second time, yes.
Second time, yes. Was that the last time you saw the truck on the video?
No,
When was the next time you saw the truck on the video?
2349, I believe.
And what was the truck doing at that time?
It was traveling past the gas station on Hall Road. It would have been traveling,
Well, let me make it easier.
Yeah.
Toward Miss Covington's house or away from?
away from.
Okay, and did you get any estimate of the speed based on what you saw?
No.
Did it appear to be operating at a high rate of speed or average or
Nothing notable.
nothing notable? Okay, so in your theory then, a murder had just been committed by the individual in that truck, but that truck was leaving the area and at a speed that you did not consider to be remarkable or unusual.
Nothing that I noted.
I thought yesterday in your testimony, you said at one point you saw another vehicle that you thought was associated with that blue truck.
That's correct.
And that was a Chrysler or, a sedan, let's just call it a
Yeah.
sedan.
Yeah, it looked to be an older model Chrysler 300.
Okay, and that was in the first bit, that was at the 1140 or 1143?
1140, the initial time I saw the blue truck.
Okay, and where did you see that vehicle?
It was traveling in front of the blue vehicle, close proximity.
With those vehicles at that point, were they operating at a speed that you considered to be unusual?
Nothing notable.
Nothing notable, not going real slow as if they were scoping out the area?
I'd have to determine the other vehicles traveling on a road to get a good estimate of.
Okay, fair enough. Did you see that Chrysler again on the video? You did not. So you don't know what happened. You never saw it leave the area,
I did not.
either before or after the second video with the truck?
That's correct.
You had an opportunity to, okay, let me back up. If I heard your testimony this morning correctly, you started your portion of the investigation in August of 2020.
Yeah, officially.
At that point in time, was the video from the gas station part of the file?
It was, yes.
And at some point in time, either on your own initiative or because you were directed to, you looked at that video.
That's correct, yes.
And you saw in that video the blue truck
That's correct.
as well as the Chrysler.
That's correct.
And I'm assuming you didn't think there was enough in the video of the Chrysler to allow you to identify that vehicle. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct, yes.
So you focused in on the blue truck.
Yes.
And you thought, I think if I dig a little bit, I can find that truck
It was significant to any other vehicle because of the pings, yes.
because of the,
Geographical location pings. The first time I saw the truck was the exact same time at one of the pings. When I did the 3-point turn, it was at the gas station at the time the blue truck was there. So it drew my attention, basically following evidence towards it.
I understand that. My question though is that because of what you saw in the video, you said there's enough there that I might be able to identify that vehicle.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And one of the things that stood out to you was the paint color.
that's correct, yes.
Was that paint color an aftermarket paint color or was that a manufacturer's paint color?
Manufacturers.
Did you, as part of your investigation, attempt to determine how many Dodge Ram trucks were manufactured in that period of time, whatever the 2 years was?
I don't know.
Okay.
I did not.
So there could have been 2 or there could have been 2 million.
Oh, I'm sure there was, considerable amount of Dodge Rams, yeah.
All right. You also spent a fair amount of time yesterday talking about the the headlights and the taillights,
That's correct, yes.
the changes that were made over time, which helped you focus in on the years. Again, were those aftermarket or were those factory manufactured?
Those appear to be factory.
And do you know how many blue Dodge Ram trucks were made in that period of time with those headlights or taillights?
Within the years you're asking,
Yeah, well, yes.
I would imagine all of them that had that paint scheme would also have that style of headlight.
Would you guess it was more than one?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you testified yesterday that you began to search for that truck.
That's correct. Yes.
And I have sort of an odd sense of humor, so I'm thinking in my head, you went door to door, knocking on doors saying, hey, you got a blue truck. Okay, that isn't what you did. is it?
No.
What did you do?
So I went on to like an open source law enforcement database, TLO. You can narrow down from there. Different vehicle makes, models, colors sometimes, especially if they're registered in Ohio, because Michigan doesn't register colors through Secretary of State, but Ohio does, and because of the license plate, it looked like it was registered out of Ohio. So I started in Ohio.
Do you recall how many vehicles, when you did the search in the, I'm going to call it Secretary of State or Department of Motor Vehicles in
Yeah.
Ohio, when you did that search, how many vehicles came back? Dodge Ram, correct year, correct color.
So not that many because of the Hemi badging, the four-wheel drive, the blue electric pearl, quad cab. There's some other things that narrowed down, but there weren't that many.
When you say not that many, we talking 1, 2, 10, 100, 500?
There were, I believe, I couldn't even give you a number on exactly how many there were. Probably around 30-ish or so.
All registered in the state of Ohio.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Or at one time had been registered
Right.
in Ohio. Yeah.
Understand. Were you able to get any information relevant to your investigation from the state of Michigan? I know you say they don't register color, but using make, model, year, et cetera, were you able to get information from the state of Michigan?
I don't recall.
I don't recall.
I don't think so.
But if I understood your testimony yesterday correctly, you focused in on the Ohio trucks because you thought the plate on the front of that truck was an Ohio plate.
That's correct, yes.
You do agree, by the way, that even though Michigan does not require a front license plate, it's not illegal to have something on the front of your vehicle.
That's correct, yes.
And people often have plates on the front.
They do. Yes.
U of M plates, Michigan State plates,
Vanity plates.
Vanity plates, the Mackinac Bridge,
Absolutely.
all
Yep.
kinds of stuff. Okay.
Yep. It's common.
But you didn't follow up with Michigan. You followed up primarily with Ohio.
Right. Yeah. Just the license plate itself. When I observed it, it looked like it was from Ohio, based on the red stripe, like the triangle on the plate itself. It resembled Ohio plate.
So you said yesterday, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
You found another vehicle that you investigated,
That's correct.
but you eliminated that vehicle.
I did. Yes.
You then investigated the vehicle that turned out to be registered to Arthur Richardson's brother.
That's correct.
That was the second vehicle.
The second vehicle. Yes.
And you stopped at that point, didn't you?
Yes.
You said, oh, I think this is it.
Based on some other facts. Yes.
So you didn't attempt to, shall we say, verify that conclusion by looking at other vehicles. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Yeah.
By the way, again, like I asked before, I forget, I'm a little older than the rest of the people in this room, and I sometimes forget. You said that in your investigation, you learned that Shane Evans had relatives that lived in that area. Is that right?
In which area?
The area around the Hull Road.
Yes.
Okay, and that was on Judd Road?
On Judd Road. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and how far from Judd Road to Hull Road? The location on Judd where Mr. Evans stayed and this house on Hull Road, what was the distance?
It was a little more than 3 miles, I believe. North to south.
Okay, now, the gas station's at the corner of Hall and Sumter, is that right?
All in subject, yes.
So I'm at Hall and Sumter.
Yes.
In a vehicle. And I want to get away from that area. What's my route? What do I do?
You can go east, west, north, or south.
Well, is there an expressway nearby,
Uh,
like
Yeah.
94?
you can, oh yeah, you can go to 94.
Yeah, how would I get from there to 94?
Travel north. Yes, yeah, you can travel north off of Sumter Road.
How far?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You didn't clock it?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with that area, sir? Just in general?
Just in passing.
Yeah.
I've been there several times, but not extensively.
So you wouldn't have any information as to what the primary route from that intersection out of that area would be?
I wouldn't.
Fair enough. So you looked at the video
Yes.
and you saw the truck pretty clearly, correct?
Yes.
Were you, and you were able to enlarge, whatever a good word is, to get it clearer and more specific?
Yeah.
Were you ever able to do it sufficiently that you could see inside, who was inside the vehicle at that time?
No, you couldn't make out any faces at all. You can obviously see that there's somebody in the car, but I couldn't make
Well,
out.
there was obviously somebody driving the car.
Absolutely.
That wasn't one of these new cars that drives itself, right?
No, sir. Not this year.
All right, so we know there was a driver,
That's correct. Yes.
but you don't know if there was one person, two people, five people?
It looked like there's two people. I saw the front passenger moving in there. Looked like a hand, and then obviously the driver.
So you could see that there were possibly two people in the vehicle,
That's correct. Yes, sir.
male or female,
Could not determine.
young or old,
Could not determine.
white or black.
Could not determine.
What about in the Chrysler?
Could not determine that at all. Obviously a driver, just by based on his
again,
movement, but other than that, no. Couldn't make out any features for male, female, race.
We certainly hope there was a driver.
I hope so.
Thanks.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Joe, I'm done, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Miss Watt.
I have no question.
Any follow-up, Ms. Shackelford?
Briefly. So you were just asked a bunch of questions about why did you focus specifically on this blue truck? And you indicated something about a ping at a gas station. Do you recall that testimony? Can you explain what it was that connected these two things together to make you investigate that particular truck?
Yes. So prior to watching the video, I was educated about these geographical locations that we got from the target number that was identified as Arthur Richardson. And while watching the video, I noticed that one of the pings came from the fuel station. It pinged at the fuel station itself. And I knew it pinged at 23:43 hours. And as I was watching the video, lo and behold, the blue truck pulls in there at 23:43 hours. And not only does the blue truck pull in there at 23:43 hours, at 23:45, that same ping goes to Ms. Covington's address and is there for several minutes. It leaves at the same time that blue truck is now traveling on Hall Road. So if it was one time, yeah, there's probably something to look into, but more than one time, two different pings with that vehicle. Obviously, that drew my attention that this vehicle more than likely had something to do with it. Obviously, it needed more investigation, but yeah, out of any other vehicle, that vehicle matched the time frames of the pings.
And when you get, I know you're not an expert on this, but just, you have some knowledge.
Absolutely.
When you get a call detail records and you're looking at cell phone towers and what tower they're using, would you agree with me? You have a fairly large geographical area.
Absolutely.
All right, when you're looking at Google pings, do you get specific information from Google about the range of those pings?
Yeah, so it doesn't base their location off of the towers itself, or the information isn't displayed through the towers. It's based off a GPS or a geographical location point, and it does have a radius involved in it. So Google will send you, hey, there's a variance of this radius within this geographical location.
And were those pings that you noticed at Miss Covington's home from that same device that pinged at the gas station?
That's right.
Did they all kind of come with a different radius?
They do, depending on signal and whatnot from the device and the receiving device.
And,
Ms. Shackelford, can you,
Oh,
yeah, that,
is that
yeah,
Okay.
your folder's making, that's the microphone, and it's vibrating.
I've never
so-
had anyone tell me I wasn't loud enough.
No, it was
so-
causing
No, it's
vibration.
causing a vibration because the
All right.
full, every time you touch it, makes it vibrate, and then when she has to transcribe this, it'll drive her crazy, so.
I'm sorry, I lost my question
Yeah,
there.
sorry.
So I'm asking you about these geographical areas on these pings. When you're looking at the pings, did you do some initial plotting?
I did, yes.
All right, and the radius of some of these pings, you were asking questions about, well, what about the neighbor's house or this house? Did you notice anything specifically about those Google pings for Arthur Richardson's, the device registered to him?
Yeah, they were, the radius did not encompass the surrounding houses, only E.J. Covington's house, most of them. There were a couple that had a very large radius, but most of them were concentrated in her residence itself.
So when you're getting this Google return and you're seeing this vehicle, and then did you make a connection between Arthur Greenlee and Arthur Richardson?
Yes, we discovered that they were brothers.
So when you're asked, why just stop looking for all the other trucks? Is that why?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Just one question. You just testified about the accuracy radius of the Google pings, I guess we could call them.
Yeah.
But the accuracy radius of those Google pings, according to an expert, was between 200 and 288 meters, right?
Yeah, there are a couple I said that were a larger radius. Some of the other radiuses inside of her house were much smaller.
Okay, and is it your testimony today that none of those radiuses, is it your testimony today that some of those radiuses do not encompass other homes?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and is that supported by the experts plotting, or is that based on your plotting?
It's based off my plotting.
Okay, and you don't have any expertise in plotting or accuracy or radius accuracy, right? Okay, so that's just based on yours.
That's
Okay,
correct, yes.
and, okay, nothing further.
Anything else?
None, Your Honor.
Sir,
Yes.
I do, Your Honor, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, when you were talking about these pings and so forth, that tells you the device, correct? The ping tells you the device.
It does, yes.
Does it tell you who's using the device at that time?
No, sir, just the person who registered that device initially.
Does it tell you whether the device is actually being used at that time?
It does.
And does it tell you what was being said on the phone at that time?
There are ways.
I'm talking about, right, I'm
Yeah.
talking, so with the information you have, did it tell you, when you were looking at these pigs,
Mhm.
did it tell you what was being said on the phone at that time?
No, just the numbers calling.
Thank you. I'm sorry, nothing else, Your Honor.
You can step down. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Swat. I apologize. Did you? Oh, okay. I thought you said I have a question. You can go with Officer Garcia. And then who's the next witness? Ms.
Okay, Judge, I'm gonna send a text right now. I want to see who's out in the hallway. Your Honor, can I just step out in the hallway to see who's out there?
Yes, you can.
There's a lot of stuff here.
Your Honor, the people would call Special Agent Neil Gavin. And he's on his way through.
And can you raise your right hand, sir? Solemnly swear from testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Have a seat. Will you spell your name for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Neil, Neil. Last name Gavin, Gavin.
Go ahead, Ms.
Thank
Shackelford.
you. Sir, you've stated your name for the record. Can you tell me what you do for a living?
I'm a special agent with the FBI
Okay, and how long have you worked with the FBI?
for 17 years.
And can you tell me, what is it you do for the FBI? Do you have a specialty?
I do. So I'm currently assigned to the Detroit Violent Gang Task Force, where we investigate criminal street gangs engaged in violations of federal law. And then my specialty is I'm a member of the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team, or CAST, C-A-S-T.
And did you go through special training to do what you do?
Yes.
All right. And Your Honor, I believe we have a stipulation with respect to the expert's qualifications. No?
Is that correct, Ms. Joseph?
Excuse me. I don't know that I've seen a CV.
It was emailed to you weeks ago. Do you want to see a copy of it?
Yeah, I'd love to, thank you.
Mr. Goldstein, do you have the copy of the CV?
Yes, you're right.
Thank you. Oh, this was, okay, here you go.
This one?
Fred? Is-
I saw it already.
And Jamie, will you grab Fred?
Judge, we would stipulate to his qualifications.
Stipulation, Mr. Goldstein, stipulation, Ms. Watt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so stipulated.
And, sir, can you tell me, what is it that you're qualified as an expert in? What field?
The historical cell site analysis.
Okay, and your curriculum vitae, which is people's proposed exhibit 36, is this the document that you provided to me with respect to your education and training?
Yes.
All right, move for admission of people's proposed 36.
Ms. Joseph?
No objection for exam purposes.
No, you're on.
No
This one.
objection for exam.
It's admitted for exam purposes only.
Thank you. And, sir, can you tell me what is it you do on the cellular analysis surveyor?
So the CAST team for the FBI is a three-part mission. We provide historical cell site analysis for a crime that's happened in the past. We also respond to critical incidents such as kidnappings, fugitives, terrorist attacks, things like that, using the same techniques to locate phones and people. And then thirdly, we provide training to state and local law enforcement officers.
And what kind of training have you had for the historical cell site analysis?
So the certification process is a multi-step process. You go through basic and advanced training, and then there's a two-step certification training after a field training exercise.
And do you also provide training to investigators and attorneys in historical cell site analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me, what is historical cell site analysis?
So historical cell site analysis is reviewing call detail records and combining those records with cell tower location records, in which you can provide a general geographic area of a cell phone.
Okay. And can you tell us briefly how a cell phone works? How does a cell phone and a cell tower work together to complete a call?
So a cell phone works like a radio, like a walkie-talkie. It can send and receive radio signals. The primary difference being that a walkie-talkie has a limited range, where a cell phone, I can talk to anybody in the world. The way a cell phone does that is by connecting to a network. The network then routes that call or text to wherever I need it to go. The way a cell phone connects to a network is through a cell tower, by connecting to that cell site. So when your phone is on it's constantly listening and scanning for those signals from a cell tower. A cell tower is constantly broadcasting like a beacon. So your phone, if you're in a rural area, your phone may be only listening to one cell tower. More than likely though, with the prevalence of cell phone networks, and especially if you're in an urban area, your phone is going to be picking up multiple towers, signals from multiple towers. What your phone is doing is it's ranking those signals, and it's looking for the strongest and clearest signal. As you move, that ranking may change, but the strongest and clearest signal is always going to be at the top of that ranking. So your phone knows before you go to make that call or send that text, what tower it's going to connect to. So when you go to place a call or receive a call, your phone connects to that tower. When that connection is made, that's when a record is generated. And that record is maintained by the phone companies. That record's going to have information like the date and time of that connection, the parties that were involved, whether it was incoming, outgoing, the duration, and also what tower you connected to, along with the location of that tower. That's what can provide us a general geographic area of where a cell phone was at a specific time.
And so you can determine the general location of a cell phone by analyzing cell sites used and documented in the call detail records?
Yes.
And can you tell me, what is the level of precision with call detail record analysis?
So it's not a GPS point. It's basically a general geographic area, the coverage area of that cell tower or the sector within that cell tower.
And
Can I ask a question? Generally, I mean, you mentioned urban versus, rural areas. And obviously there's more cell towers in an urban area. What is, I mean, this situation is a more rural area. What is the, coverage area of a general cell tower? You know what I mean? Is it a couple square miles?
It can depend how they, so a phone company will lay out towers in specific areas. So the more towers you have, the smaller that coverage area is going to be. The more towers are spread out, the bigger they engineer that coverage area to be. So it's kind of a dependent question.
Okay.
And in your analysis of all of the call detail records we're going to talk about today, do you actually have mapping where you show where each of the towers servicing those providers are located?
Yes.
Okay. Before I get into specifics, I want to ask you, do you also, are you also qualified to map Google locations?
Yes.
And can you just briefly describe what is a Google location? What are we talking about?
So whenever your device uses a Google account, Google collects that location information. It can be from a GPS point, from your specific phone. It can be from a Wi-Fi signal that you pass through or connect to, or it could be a cellular signal, much like the call detail records would have.
So it's either a GPS point, cellular signal, or attempt to connect to Wi-Fi?
Correct.
And did you do some pretty extensive analysis on the case that we're here for today?
Yes,
All right, and did you provide a report with respect to that?
I did. Yes.
And Special Agent, do you have a copy of that
I do.
report with
I have
you?
it printed out.
We have it up on the screen as well, but I just kind of want to go through it with you, and we can discuss each map in detail.
Okay.
So on page 3, what are we looking at here?
So these are pictures of what a typical cell tower would look like. You can see the small white rectangles are the antenna. That's what sends and receives those signals. And if you look at the close-up on the right-hand side, you see a distinct triangle shape. Those 3 faces, those are the 3 sectors of a cell tower. So a cell company will divide the coverage area on a specific cell tower into 3 sections or slices.
Okay, can we go on to the next And is that what we're looking at here on page 4?
Yes, so the bigger example on the right is an overhead shot looking like straight down onto a cell tower. And we see, if you imagine a circle, a 360-degree circle, the phone companies will split that circle into 3 different sectors, and they'll label them 1, 2, 3 or ABC. And each one of those sectors will cover 120 degrees, 360 degrees, the whole circle divided by 3, give 120 degrees for each one of those slices. The way they name those slices is by directions. So if we look in this example, sector 1, which is the red sector, has a direction of 0 degrees, which would be straight north on a compass. So it goes by the middle of that slice. So like sector 2, the blue one, would have an azimuth or direction of 120 degrees. The gray sector, sector 3, is 240 degrees.
And when these azimuths, I see the different degrees in there. Do certain phone companies provide you not only with a sector that a phone would use, but actually the azimuth of where the phone was coming into that sector on?
Correct. They'll provide the name of the sector that it connected to, as well as the direction that that sector faces or covers.
And the next slide.
So this slide just shows on the maps that we're going to see how those sectors are depicted. So those white legs are the edges of each one of those slices. The shaded area, that's just the general direction that that sector is facing. So the middle of that shaded area would be the azimuth, the direction the sector is facing. And then the small box on the bottom, the call-out box, contains the information that is provided by the phone company. So the cell number, that's the naming of that cell site that's provided by the phone company, the date that the event happened, that the connection was made, the phone that connected to that tower, the time that that connection was made, and then the last number on the right-hand side is the azimuth. Again, that's the direction that sector faces that the phone connected to.
And before we go any further, Special Agent, this report that you authored, what we're seeing, is that the report that you provided?
Yes.
Okay, and Your Honor, at this time, I'd move, this is People's Proposed Exhibit 7, I'd move for admission of the phone mapping exhibit.
Ms. Joseph,
Judge, no objection for exam purposes.
Exactly, same, Your Honor.
Ms. Watt,
Thank you, Your Honor.
it's admitted for exam purposes.
Thank you, Judge. Okay,
Before we take this slide down, can I ask some questions about it rather than having to come back later, Your Honor?
I don't have any problem with that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Agent Gavin, between where it says cell number and date of tower event, there are 3 little things.
Symbols, yeah.
Okay, what does that represent?
Those are so I can display the information differently, and if I click on each one of those little, it's like a little hand pointing at a piece of paper. It just displays the date information in a different format.
Okay, so it's not, I thought sometimes those look like symbol strings. They show how strong.
Oh, no, it's
Okay.
just just the program, the way it displays the information.
Okay, and you may have said this and I may have missed it, but there's something there called an azimuth of cell site, and the number 15. What does that mean?
So the azimuth is that direction that the sector that the phone connected to faces. So like a 90 would be directly east, if you think of a 360-degree circle.
So 15 would mean slightly east of north.
Correct.
Okay. It has nothing to do with the direction of the phone or where the phone was relative to the tower. It's just where it faces.
Well, it's the sector that the phone connected to.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
And that's consistent with all cell towers start with 0 at due north.
Yes.
That's a standard procedure in the industry.
Directionally, yes.
Okay, so that anybody that looks at any of these knows that 15 is just east of North.
That's correct.
Anything else, Mr. Goldstein?
No, thank you, Miranda.
Ms. Watt or Ms. Joseph, did you have any specific?
No, Judge, thank you.
No, you're
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Shackelford.
Okay. And on to the next slide. Can you tell me, what am I looking at in this slide, sir?
So this slide is a map of the AT&T network in the Van Buren area. So each one of those little blue dots that you see, the little blue circles, that's an AT&T cell tower or cell site. There's also several locations that were provided to me that are mapped on there. Crime scene, victim residence at 45576 Hall Road, a yoga studio in Canton, Citgo gas station at 15400 Sumter Road in Belleville, a residence at 44700 Judd Road, and then again, those blue dots are the AT&T cell sites.
So just so I'm clear, so up at the top there, it looks like it's in purple or dark blue. It says YG. Is that the yoga studio?
Correct.
All right, and then down towards the bottom, I see CS. And is that the address on Hull Road?
Yes.
And the Citgo is self-explanatory. And then down at the bottom there, there's a little yellow house symbol. Is that the house on Judd Road?
Yes.
And let me ask you, if a phone has AT&T versus Verizon, will there be different towers?
The towers could be in different locations. Yes.
Okay.
So each phone company, if you have an AT&T phone, your phone will only connect to the AT&T towers.
Okay,
If you have a Verizon phone, likewise.
okay. So I want to now move to the next slide. And what am I looking at here?
So this is a similar map, except now for Sprint. So the black dots are the Sprint towers in the area. The same locations are mapped on this map, and it's zoomed out a little bit to include the Toledo area.
Just out of curiosity, do any of the companies rent or lease or whatever towers from each other?
They share towers sometimes, yes. So you
Or
can
have multiple, you could have multiple, whatever you call the directional things.
Exactly.
For AT&T, Verizon and Sprint or whatever.
Exactly, yep, all on the same tower.
So sometimes that, just to piggyback off of that, so sometimes you might have one big tower and it might be Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, whatever, T-Mobile, and other times it might just be Verizon or
Exactly.
just be Sprint, depending on the area and whether or not they want to share a tower.
Correct.
Okay. And so we're looking here at Sprint towers, and again, I see the Citgo crime scene, yoga studio, and the Judd Road residence. Can you tell me, why does this map go down so far?
So this map is zoomed out to include the Toledo area because a couple of the Sprint phones that I was asked to analyze connected to towers in Toledo.
Okay. So on the next slide here, and now we're going to look at a specific phone that you identified and analyzed. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you tell me what was the number for that phone?
So this number is 734-730-7090, and it's an AT&T phone.
Okay, and can you just run us through what towers that phone was utilizing and what time period it was utilizing them in?
Yeah, so the time period for this slide is June 22nd, 2017, from 6:22 p.m. to 9:07 p.m. And we see that phone connect to 3 different towers in the Canton, Michigan area, and the times are listed there for each tower that it connected to.
And can you tell me from about 6:22 to 9:06, can you tell me what those tower areas would be covering?
So from the 6:22 to 9:06 p.m., we see the phone connect to it's tower 711181, and that's a tower just off Canton Center Road in Canton. and we see two different sectors that it connects to during there. So the 622, 706, 712, 715, 715 twice, 722, 806, and 845. It connects to the sector with the 0 azimuth, which would be facing due north. And then at 9:06 p.m., we see it connect to the azimuth of 120, which would be facing in a southeast direction.
So those first ones up to 8:45 p.m., would that due north tower cover YG on your map, the yoga studio?
It could, yes.
And then at 9:06, it appears that that cellular device is now going south.
It's connected to the sector which faces a southeast direction on that tower.
And next slide. And here on your next slide, it looks like we're looking at that same cell number that ends in 7090.
Yes,
All right, and this is from 9:06 to 11:12 p.m.
correct.
All right, and can you just give me some idea or explanation as to what we're looking at?
So again, this is the connections for the AT&T phone. So if we go chronologically, we see at 9:06, it connects to that same tower in Canton that we just discussed on the previous slide. And then at 9:13, it connects to a tower just north of I-94. And then eventually starting at 9:16 and going all the way to 11:11 p.m., it connects to a tower just north of the crime scene.
And would that tower cover that crime scene?
So starting at 9:22 p.m., where we see it connect to the 120 degree sector, that's the sector I would expect that would provide coverage to the crime scene.
And so at about 9:20, it appears 9:20 to 11:11, this device is communicating with the tower that covers the crime scene.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, and can we look at the next slide, please? All right, and now I see up in the corner of this slide, instead of saying AT&T, it says Sprint.
Yes.
Is that, what does that indicate?
So the two phones that I was asked to analyze that are shown on this slide, and ending in 4931 and 8723, those are both Sprint phones.
And are we looking at an area of Toledo?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and can you tell me, you see these little, look like Wi-Fi symbols or internet symbols?
Yes, so the small blue, like signal strength Wi-Fi symbols are indications of the locations provided by the Google account that's listed there, which is HY960@gmail.com. So each one of those small blue Wi-Fi-like symbols are a location record provided by Google.
Okay, and can you tell me, are Google locations generally more precise than call detail record analysis?
It's dependent on the type of record it is, but in this instance on this slide, these are Wi-Fi records, so you can see the area radius that Google has provided is between 20 meters and 92 meters.
So if I look at any one of these little blue internet symbols, I know that that device associated with that Google account was an accuracy of 20 to 92 meters from the marking.
Correct.
Okay. And that's a radius.
Yes, a circle around.
Okay. And just one second. So from 10:04 to 10:06 p.m., do those two, can you tell me, are those two devices in the same area?
So those two devices, the 4931, which is depicted in red, and the 8723, which is depicted in green, between 10:04 and 10:06, they connect to the same sector of the same tower.
And the Google hits, or the Google information provided is for this Google account that was associated with the 4931 cell number?
Correct.
Okay, so we know that that 4931 cell number was within this tower, but even more precisely, we know where within the tower with some degree of accuracy that phone was located.
Correct.
And then do you see down here at 1023 to 1024, we have one of the devices ending in 4931 is hitting off a tower south of the hits that were ended at 1006?
Yes.
Next slide. Okay, and in this next slide, we're still looking at Sprint, correct?
Yes.
But now we're looking just specifically at the 4931 number.
Correct.
All right, and the Google account associated with that number.
Yes.
All right, and can you just tell me can you run me through this?
Okay, so we're looking at the time period that same night, June 22nd of 2017. This is from 10:34 to 11:11 p.m. And going chronologically, we see that phone connect to a tower just north of Toledo at 10:34.
And I just want to ask, because I'm going to try and do them both at the same time
Sure.
for ease. And I also see all of the little internet signs, and those would be the Google data from that device.
Correct.
All right, and that seems to be in the same area at the same time frame.
Correct.
Okay, and then the next record.
So the next record, 10:44 p.m. We see it a little bit further north along I-75, and again, the Google account shows a location in the same area.
And so it appears that this device is traveling north from 1034 to 1044.
Correct.
Okay, and where do we see that device at next?
So the next cellular hit is at 11:08 and 11:09. We see it just off of I-275. And then at 11:10, we see another cellular hit on a tower directly south of the crime scene.
And again, all those Wi-Fi symbols are the Google hits that are moving at the same time as that cellular device, with
Correct.
just a more accurate location.
Correct.
And then this 11:10:42, well, nope, I'll get to that on the next slide. So it appears this device is moving north from Toledo on 75 onto 275 and then off of the expressway.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, next. And can you tell me what am I looking at here?
So now we're looking at a combination of all three cell phones. So the AT&T phone that ends in 7090 is depicted in blue. The Sprint phone that ends in 4931 is depicted in red. And the Sprint phone that's depicted in green is 8723.
And can you tell me, so can we start down at the bottom here at 11:10? We see the phone ending in 4931. Is that a tower that would service that Judd Road home that's marked as a little yellow home on the map?
Yes, that tower and sector, I would expect that to provide service to that home.
And would that be same for the number ending in 8723 at 11:35 p.m.?
Correct, yes, they both connect to that same sector on that same tower.
And then when is the next time that we see 8723 number on this mapping?
So at 11:38, we see a connection to a tower just to the east, just off, looks like Rossonville Road.
And can you tell me, in your training and experience, what is that indicative of?
It's possibly indicative of that phone moving. It connected to a different tower, so there's a likelihood of that phone moved into a different coverage area.
And can you tell me and do we have, sir, I just want to make sure, so we have AT&T towers and Sprint towers on this map.
Correct.
Okay, so the AT&T tower covers just 7090, right?
Yes.
All right, and then the Sprint would be the towers for the other two numbers.
Yes.
So in between the home on Judd Road and the tower up at the top there that covered the crime scene, were there any other towers in that area that would be servicing that 8723 number?
No, there's no towers in between those two for Sprint.
Okay, because the little blue dots I'm looking at, those would be for AT&T,
Correct.
and the black dots are for Sprint.
Correct.
Okay, and then can you tell me where that, let's talk about the 7090 phone. Where is that phone connecting to from 1113 to 1149?
So between 1113 and 1149, we see the AT&T phone 7090 connect to the tower, the sector and tower that would provide coverage to the crimes.
And is that the same tower that we looked at a few slides back where, let's see here, that 7090 was hitting at about 9 p.m.? It started hitting there, I think, about 9:22?
Yes,
All
it's
right.
the 120-degree sector.
Okay, so that phone is still in the same location we saw it at on the last records we reviewed for that phone?
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell me what is happening with the 8723 number and the 4931 number?
So at 1140, we see the 8723 number connect to that same tower, now with a Sprint sector of 135 degrees. And then 1145 and 1146, we see the 4931, the red number, connect to that same tower in two different sectors, 135 degrees and 255 degrees.
And on this next slide, what are we looking at specifically on this slide?
So this slide is just the Google account, the Gmail listed at the top. This is for the same time period as the last slide, which is 11:10 to 11:50 p.m. And going chronologically, if we start at the lower right corner, we see a Wi-Fi location hit at 11:10 p.m. Then we see between 11:12 and 11:34 p.m., we see multiple Google location hits around the residence, which is depicted at 44700 Judd Road, the yellow symbol. 11:37, 11:39, we see that device move north along Sumter Road. There are a couple of Wi-Fi Google hits along that road. And then from 11:41 to 11:49, we see another cluster of Google location hits up in and around the crime scene.
Okay, and those in that cutout there, the larger cutout, are those the particular hits on Hull Road?
Yes, that's just a zoomed in section of the area shown, that cluster of hits between 11:41 and 11:49.
Okay, and those all cover the crime scene in this case?
They're, yes, in and around the crime scene, yes.
And now on the next slide, did you just get a little more detail for me?
Yeah, so now the time is cut down to the 11:41 to 11:50, and we're looking zoomed in basically at the intersection of Sumter Road and Judd Road.
Okay, so I'm going to start chronologically. So I see a little bit down on Hull Road, just, oh, I don't know what direction that is, but I'll say left of the crime scene. I see one at 11:41:39.
Yes.
Okay, and that, I see the little Wi-Fi hit. And where that Wi-Fi hit is that where the actual Wi-Fi device that it's trying to connect with is, or is that saying, no, this is where the device is?
So it's basically passing through a Wi-Fi signal that the phone has seen, that device has seen that Wi-Fi signal. It's recorded it, and Google is estimating the location of that device within that 50-meter circle.
Radius. So within 25 meters in all direction of the actual little blue thing is where that phone would have been, according to Google.
It'd be 50 meters in each direction. So the radius of the circle, half
Is-
the
okay.
circle, half the width of the circle would be 50 meters.
And then at 11:42:01, do we see that hit on the map?
Yes, it's a little bit further west, still close to Hull Road.
And then at 11:43, where does that device go from there?
So now we have a Google location hit 11:43 at the intersection of Hull Road and Sumter Road, right around that Citgo gas station.
Okay, and that basically the radius of that circle covers the Citgo gas station. At 11:43:40, that device is hitting there.
Correct.
And then from there, what is the next hit we have?
So between 11:45 and 11:49, we see a series of 5 Google location hits within a smaller area just off of Hull Road near the crime scene.
And that 11:45 p.m., what is the the radius of that hit?
28 meters.
And then again, I see it at 11:46:23, circle covering the crime scene. And what was the meter radius on that hit?
28 meters.
Okay. And at 11:47:24.
30 meters.
And then again at 11:49:25.
39 meters.
And sir, with respect to the hits, 11:47:01, 11:46:23, 11:49:25, and 11:45:45, would you agree with me that the radius of those circles does not cover Hull Road? It's actually set back from the road
Correct. I would agree with that.
at the crime scene.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next slide.
Your Honor, I realize,
Can I just ask a question? Only because I know Mr. Goldstein's having a hard time, the slides are progressing and and I don't want to turn it into that we stop at every slide, but are the slides, are they numbered? Are they,
thank you, Judge.
I don't see a number on that slide. What is
They're
that?
in a slideshow, so Ms. McDuffie has the number of the slide, so maybe on each
Well-
slide, we can start by asking her the number.
Well, maybe, and I because I'm not trying to interrupt your progression through this, but I feel for Mr. Goldstein and his ability to cross-examine Special Agent and also Ms. Watt and Ms. Joseph. Maybe what we do when you finish, Mr. Goldstein, maybe we actually do go through it, and I don't think that it'll be that time consuming, that we start at the beginning and then I can say, does anybody have any questions on this slide and progress? Is that satisfactory to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you don't have to say, there was a slide that had 3 red dots.
That's
Do you know what I'm saying? So
That's perfect.
that's how I think, is that a better alternative? Because I can feel you stressing across the room with this. So,
Yeah.
all right, okay, go ahead. And then that's how we'll do cross-examination, is to go through them to make sure that all the questions that you have are answered. Go ahead, Michelle.
And then Judge, just for my redirect, will we be starting over, or should I redirect on each slide after they? Or do you,
When we get there,
Okay.
we'll
Okay, that's-
figure it out. I probably, we'll see.
okay. So sir, this slide we're looking at here, Ms. McDuffie, can you tell me the number of that slide?
15.
Okay, on slide 15 here. Oh, and I do see way at the bottom of the report, I do see the numbers. If you
Yeah,
look,
I don't see any numbers on there, and
okay,
I've
it's on
been
the
looking,
printed
so.
versions of this. If
But
you
that's
look.
okay. I think
Okay.
it still makes more sense that instead of trying to make them look or figure it out and write it down, it makes more sense to go through them all. And then I'll probably let you do redirect as we, and then you can group it at the end, but
Okay,
go
that's good.
ahead.
All right, so this slide's got a lot of action on it here in slide 15. So I am going to ask you to run me through that slide chronologically.
Okay,
Can you tell me first, are we still looking at all three devices, 7090, 4931, and 8723?
yes,
Are we also looking at the Google hits?
yes.
All right, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and take me through this chronologically.
Okay, so if we go through, it's probably easier to go through each device chronologically. So if we start with the AT&T phone, the 7090 phone, at 11:49, we see it connect to a tower just north of the crime scene, the sector of 120. Then 11:51 to 11:57, that same phone connects to a tower just off Judd Road, east of Sumter Road.
Okay, and can I ask you a question about that? When this phone is connecting to this tower, does it mean the phone is being actively used by a participant
Not
with respect to
necessarily.
that phone?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so what else would explain for hits or that phone showing up on towers after it leaves the crime scene at 11:49:57, after that last hit?
So these particular hits are data hits, and your phone will connect to data, whether you're using it or not. If you're getting news updates or you have a browser page open, your phone can still connect to data, connect to the tower, utilize that data to send information back and forth.
So if you have a mom phone like I do and you have 400 apps open at all times and you're allowing them to upload through your settings, they're gonna continue to work? My phone's working really hard right now, even though I'm not touching it.
Yes, your phone will be
Okay.
continually connected.
All right, thank you. All right, so you indicated that you see this 7090 hitting off the tower directly north of that Judd Road address.
Correct.
All right, and it's hitting there in between what times?
11:51 and 11:57 p.m.
Okay, and would that tower or those sectors, would they be covering the home on Judd Road?
I would expect the 270-degree sector to cover that residence.
And can I approach with this real briefly? I just want to ask you
Is that
something
just a
about.
closer picture of that?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just the
Well,
print.
my only concern is I would almost prefer that you walk down and point at the screen. And the only reason I say that is because as you're pointing on that piece of paper, Ms. Watt, Mr. Goldstein, and Ms. Joseph can't see which, do you know what I'm saying? And if you,
That's fair. Can I just direct the witness, just because he might not be able to see me over there, to what I'm showing him? Oh, see this Judd Road here and that one? Okay.
yeah, or the dynamics of you getting over there is a little bit
I'll go there.
Tetris, but
We won't trip her down, we promise.
I guess I saw where you pointed to. It might have been easier for me to walk down there and point, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
So, do you see right here where you have this Judd Road, the address, the actual block at?
Yes.
Do you see that Judd Road is actually north of where you have that at?
Yes.
Okay, and the home that you had, should this block actually be moved to the other side of Judd Road?
It should have an arrow pointing it's on the north side of Judd Road.
Okay, so there should have been an arrow put in there.
Yep.
Okay,
Oh, because it's labeled as being south of Judd Road and it's actually north of Judd Road. Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
there's an arrow missing there.
and we see that on all the other mapping that you did, that you have this block actually just north of that area.
Correct.
Okay. So can you tell me again with that number 7090, would that phone be, I don't know if that changes the answer to your question. I just wanted to know, would that phone be utilizing those towers if it was at or near that Judd Road address that would be just on the north side of Judd Road?
Yes, I would expect that tower to provide coverage to that residence.
And so at some point, does that device start contacting other towers?
It does. So the next tower that we see chronologically is at 11:59 p.m. We see that device connect to a tower just east of I-275 and south of Huron Road on the far right side of the screen.
Okay. And so that would be that tower that phone is communicating with at 11:59:35 and 12:59:35. Would those towers be those towers would be just west of 275?
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell me, that phone that ends in 7090, what's it do from there?
So that phone continues to communicate with that tower until the last location record that we have, which is a little over a day later at 6:24, on 6/24/2017 at almost 5 a.m., 4:59 a.m.
And during that time period, basically after that phone communicates with the tower that covers the crime scene on through, those are all data hits, right?
Correct.
And the phone continues to just sit at this tower location at this 20 on this, the azimuth 20 on the tower just west of 275. It just continues to sit there and communicate with that tower until 2 days later, or well, maybe 1 day later if we're going into the night of the morning of the 23rd, to 6:24 at 4:59 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, you want to tell me about the next one?
Okay, so we'll do both the Sprint phones, the red, which is the 4931, and the green, which is the 8723. So between 11:54 and 11:55, we see both of those phones connect to a tower just west of Sumter Road and south of Judd Road.
And from there, where do we see them go?
On this screen, those are the only hits for those two Sprint phones.
So those phones stay in the service by another tower right near that AT&T tower, and that tower would cover that Judd Road address?
So the Sprint tower that they connect to, those two phones connect to, is the tower that I would expect to cover the Judd Road residents.
Okay. And the only reason the 7090 is hitting off another tower is because it has another service provider.
Correct.
So AT&T's tower covering that Judd Road area would be the one the 7090 is hitting off?
Yes.
And then the Sprint tower would be the one the 4931 and the 8723 are hitting off?
Yes.
Okay. And then over here on your map, all the way to the east, okay, I learned something today. Do you see that 120109 Wi-Fi hit?
I do, yes.
All right, can you tell me about that?
Yes, so for the Google account, again, Google chronologically, 11:49, we see two Google location hits up near the crime scene. And then 11:51, 52, 53, we see those Google location hits moving south along Sumter Road. And then 12:01 a.m., we see the Google location hit just west of I-275 near Huron Road.
South Huron?
Yes.
Next slide, please.
16.
Thank you. And on slide 16, can you tell me what we are looking at here?
Okay, so now we're looking at earlier into the morning on June 23rd, 2017, 12:02 a.m. to 3:04 a.m. And the two Sprint phones, 4931 in red again, and 8723 in green. So we see the 4931 phone connect to a tower just say, west of downtown Toledo at 1:07:23 a.m. And the 8723 phone, the green phone, connects to a tower just off of I-75 at 12:17 a.m. and then connects to a tower in Toledo at 3:03 a.m.
Okay, I want to ask you, so I see up on the map there 12/11/24, and it looks like a little, like the phone bars you have on your phone to tell you if you have service or not.
Yes.
What am I looking at there?
So that symbol indicates that Google location record came from a cellular record.
All right, and so earlier you told me there are a few different ways that they can come. They can be a GPS point, a cellular signal, or an attempt to connect to Wi-Fi. So this is just a different type of Google data location.
Correct.
Okay, and so that would be on the Google account that was associated with the 4931 number.
Yes.
All right, and then just a little bit south of that, we see the phone 8723 that is not associated with the Google account number, also appears to be traveling down 75.
Correct. It hits a tower just off of 75. Yes.
Okay, and that's at 12:17:50.
Yes.
Okay, and then at 12:17:30, so just 20 seconds prior, I see a little Wi-Fi symbol. What's that?
So that again is a Google location record, a Wi-Fi record from the Gmail account that's listed.
And then, oh, I think that might be the next, no. And then down at the bottom of the slide here, I have like a little red box with a green and a red in it and a bunch of Wi-Fi hits. What is that?
So the small box is blown up into the larger box to the left there.
Okay,
And we see the red and the green are the tower hits for the two telephones, the two Sprint telephones. And then that cluster of Google location hits is shown in a close-up there to be between 1:09 a.m. and 3:03 a.m. We see several Wi-Fi Google location hits in the area of Bancroft and Horton Streets in Toledo.
thank you. Okay, now we're gonna move forward here, and this is slide 17. And sir, were you asked to look specifically at that Google account to see what type of movement that phone made specifically on June 7th in between 8:38 and 10:56 a.m.?
Just for clarifications, which phone number are
It would be
you say
associated.
that phone, which one are you talking about?
It would be okay. It would be associated with the 493 number, 4931.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
Okay.
so we're looking to see what that phone did, that device in between 8:38 or 9:38 and 10:56 on June 7th.
Yes.
All right. And were you given any specific locations to that you were told that or asked to look for if that device was in any particular areas?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can you tell me what that was?
Was the Toledo Municipal Court at 555 North Erie Street, Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. And can you tell me where was that phone between 9:38:26 and 10:47 on the morning of June 7th?
So again, these records are from that Gmail account, the Google location records, and we see chronologically here, if we go from 9:38 a.m. to 10:47 p.m., we see a cluster of Google location hits down near the Toledo Municipal Court. Then at 10:49, we see a Wi-Fi hit north of the court, and then 10:51 to 10:55, we see another series of Google location hits a little bit further north.
Okay. And those 9:38 to 10:47, those hits have a radius of 18 to 27 meters?
Correct.
And sir, can we go to the next slide? Were you asked to do any analysis with respect to different time frames with the phone 4931 that was attached to that Google account?
With the Google account. Yes.
Okay, and can you tell me what are we looking at here in slide 18?
So here we're looking at, again, these are Google location records for two different time periods. So the date of significance that was given to me was June 7th. So on the left-hand side of the screen, we see January 1st, 2017 through June 7th, 2017. And on the right side of the screen, we see June 8th, 2017 through August 31st, 2017. And the left side, we see a frequent location for that Google account, approximately 21% of the total locations during that time period hit in and around the 322 14th Street in Toledo.
And is there a reason in particular that you picked that location?
That location was provided to me by the state police.
And can you tell me, from June 8th to August 3rd, did that change?
So yes, from June 8th to August 31st, we see that same location, if we look at the total amount of locations, was only 2% of the time that Gmail, that Google account was there.
Okay, so from January 1st, 17 to June 7th, 17, 21% of the total locations were just in that area.
Correct.
And then after June 8th, it went down to 2%.
Correct.
And next slide. And did you do any analysis with respect to that phone again for an address or an area of Bancroft and Horton Streets?
Yes.
All right, and from January 1st, 2017 to June 7th, 2017, can you tell me what am I looking at here?
So same time period as the previous slide. On the left side, we have January 1st through June 7th of 2017, and we see the total amount of locations for that Google account. 2% of those locations were in the area of Bancroft and Horton Streets.
And then on the second part of the slide, from June 8th, 2017 to August 31st, 2017, can you tell me about that?
Yes, again, same Google account. Now we see that those location records, 37% of the total locations are in the area of that Bancroft and Horton Streets after June 8th.
Okay, so it went from 2% of the locations before or up to through June 7th. And then from June, it was 2% of the locations. And then after June 8th, it went up to 37% of the locations.
Correct.
And, we're almost done. Next page.
This was 19, moving forward to 20.
And can you tell me what I'm looking at here on page 20?
So we're looking at an analysis of the Sprint phone ending in 4931. Again, the same time period that I was asked to look for with that June 7th date. So the top of the slide shows the 5 most frequently called numbers between June 1st, 2017 and June 7th, 2017. And then the bottom half of the slide shows the 5 most frequently contacted numbers from June 7th at 11:06 a.m. through June 23rd at 11:23 p.m.
Okay, and so can you tell me what was your conclusion based on your analysis of these calls?
So we see based on the phone records, we see a distinct change in the 5 most frequently contacted numbers. The numbers on the top 5 that are listed there change after June 7th. The numbers on the bottom are the top 5 most frequently contacted by that phone.
Okay. Give me just 1 second, Judge. No further questions.
Okay, why don't we go back to slide 1? Well, let me ask, do you want to go through the slides or do you want to do general questions and then go to the slides? What's your preference?
I'm fine either way. Personally, I don't have questions to ask on every single slide.
Well,
I
and
do have
that's
a lot
why-
of general questions to ask though, so.
Well, but what I thought I would do is, is go through and ask if anybody has any questions on any of the slides. And then if you have a particular slide, Ms. McDuffie, if you can start back on one, and then we can go through them, but make a notation if there's a specific one that you might have something to follow up on. Do you understand? Do you kind of understand where I'm going? Trying to be as expeditious as possible with going through these. But let me just run through them, but let's call, is this slide 1?
I think this is where we started on number 3, right?
Yes.
Slide 3? Okay, so this is gonna be slide 3. Does anybody have any questions about the tower?
I do actually.
There you go. See, I assumed you wouldn't have a tower question. Wrong out of the gate. Go
Doing
ahead,
my
Ms.
job.
Joseph. That's okay.
Sorry. Good morning, first of all. These pictures of these towers, these are not the exact towers that you talked about for, during the course of your testimony this morning, right?
No, ma'am, these are just.
So these are just general pictures of some towers, but they don't show the exact towers in the Belleville location we're discussing, right?
That's correct.
Okay, nothing further.
Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Watt,
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Shackelford,
None, Your Honor.
move forward. Slide 4. Ms. Joseph?
Same question as before. These pictures on this slide, they're not the exact cell towers that we've discussed that are in the Belleville location, right?
Correct.
Nothing further.
No, Your Honor.
Goldstein, Watt, Ms. Shackelford.
No, Your Honor.
Slide 5.
No questions.
No questions.
Any questions?
No.
Slide 6.
No questions, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Shackelford.
No.
Slide 7.
One question, and I'm sorry, I might also have a question about slide 6. These network cell sites for Sprint, are these as of 2021 or 2017?
2017.
2017. And just, I don't know that we need to go back to it, but for the AT&T cell tower sites, are those for 2017 or 2021?
Same, 2017.
27, thank you.
Mr. Goldstein,
Nothing, Your Honor.
Ms. Watt,
Nothing.
Ms. Shackelford. Slide 8.
No questions, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Slide 9.
No questions.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Slide 10.
No questions.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
11.
No questions for me.
I do, Your Honor. Just a few.
Yep, you're fine.
And I think you may have covered this on direct, but I just want to make sure I understand. The phone doesn't have to be in use to connect, to show the data that you're looking at, is that correct?
That particular phone, the Sprint phone, these hits that it shows, those would have been in use.
Meaning somebody was actually on the phone at the time?
They didn't necessarily have to be on it, but it was either making a call, receiving a call, sending a text, or receiving a text.
Okay, so if the phone was sitting on the seat of the car next to the person driving the car, it wouldn't register those?
You're saying if it's not doing anything?
Phone's turned on, sitting on the seat next to the driver.
Mhm.
Driver's not making a call, receiving a call, sending a text, receiving a text, the phone's just sitting there. Is it going to register at those towers?
Not those specific Sprint towers, no.
So in order to show, for example, where you see CID 2068-1, 1044-45, you see that one?
Mhm.
Okay. Does that mean that at that time, at that location, the phone is being used by whoever the phone is, whoever's in the possession of the phone?
There was some event that caused it to connect to that tower, yes.
Would that event have been simply receiving data from an app?
Not on the Sprint phone.
So there would have to have been some active use of the phone by the driver at that time. I'm sorry, by the possessor at that time.
I'm not sure what you mean by active use, so
Well, that's what I'm
if the
trying to-
phone is
that's what I'm
sitting
trying to
there and
figure out.
it receives a call and the person doesn't answer it, it still is gonna register.
So there has to be some event associated with that specific phone.
Correct.
Okay, and it's not passive use like receiving data. It has to be something activate? I realize I'm struggling because it's technical, okay? If I understood your earlier testimony, I have a phone, I have an iPhone. Okay? It's not a Sprint, but it's an iPhone. I'm driving down the road, the phone is seated on my seat next to me. I have Verizon. I pass a Verizon tower. Is that tower going to register the presence of that phone?
So you're asking specifically about this.
Can I interject? Only because I think that I can help you. This slide doesn't show that, but another slide, this slide shows, we'll use the term active. I know it's your expertise, it's not mine, so I may be using the wrong words. But this shows what we'll call active use or whatever, as opposed to passive. Is that fair?
That's accurate.
So that's not what this slide shows, but there are other slides that show that it's the phone's reaching out and saying, hey, tower, or whatever, correct? And so you have both when it receives a missed call or a text or some action, whether it's, where's my phone, whether it's in my hand or not. But there's another slide that my phone on its own, says she's here, now she's here, or whatever it is. And the only time that stops, and this hasn't been asked, is when my battery dies. Is that correct?
Or you're out of coverage, if you're in an area.
Well, yeah, if I go, I'm not sure where in this country at this point, but either my phone dies or I'm out of coverage.
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter. Well, actually, I do have a question. When I put my phone on airplane mode, does that take it out?
It does. That cuts off all your
Okay.
coverage.
So if you put your phone on airplane mode, but it doesn't if you put it on vibrate or mute, or if I turn off my location finder, that still doesn't matter. You, as the expert from the FBI, can still know that I'm in the coverage area of my courtroom right this second.
Correct. If your phone's still receiving service. Yeah.
So it's just airplane mode, or if the battery dies.
It's off, yes.
Okay. All right. Does that
If that
a
helps.
little
Matt,
bit?
thank you very much.
Okay.
By the way, if you want to know where there's no coverage, just follow me around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This goes more to some of the other slides, but I'll ask on this one. You showed on some of the slides the little blue symbols. And you said that shows where there was activity on the Google account as opposed to the Sprint account, correct?
It's, yes, where Google location data was.
Right.
And it's not, and I'm going to interrupt you again, and I apologize, but it's still on the Sprint phone. It's just that it's activated on the Google account as opposed to the Sprint coverage.
Yes, that account, I believe it's been brought in before, that account, that Google account was being utilized by that phone.
And most of the phone, and all three of these phones in this circumstance had Google accounts.
I'm only aware of the one. I'm not sure what the other ones are.
Okay.
So when it shows contact with that phone with the little Google symbol, wouldn't it also show from the tower?
No, not necessarily. No.
Would one supersede the other, or is it just random?
Nope, Google can be collecting your location all the time. The cell tower is only going to show is if on these particular ones, if there's an event.
So it's entirely possible then, based upon what you're saying, that I could have a phone drive by 100 towers and it will not register because there's no event going on Sprint.
It would not register a phone call or a text event. It could still register data event, which is not what's shown on that slide.
What would you have to do to show whether that particular phone was receiving data at that time and place?
Again, you'd have to look at the data from Sprint, the data records from Sprint.
But you created this slide eliminating that, is that correct?
No, the slide is based on the call detail record activity.
So from that activity then, your slides only show connections to the towers when there is an event going on.
On this particular.
But there's another slide that shows this phone with any activity or any data event.
Not this phone, it's the AT&T phone.
Okay.
All right, and an obvious, I'll end up with an obvious question. This slide doesn't show who might have been using that phone at that time.
It does not.
Or who had possession of that phone at that time?
It does not.
Thank you.
Anything else on slide 11?
Can
Nothing? Ms. Shackelford?
I just do a brief redirect or? does
Yeah,
it
go
work?
ahead. No, do it now as it's.
Okay, so I just want to clarify what some of what was just went on here. Okay, so can you tell me, does every phone have a Google account associated with it?
No.
All right, is it something you set up on your phone, or is it certain brands or types of phones that have it?
It can be both, yes.
Okay, so it could either be, say it's an Android phone. Are they more likely to have it than an iPhone?
Yes,
All right, on an iPhone, would you actually have to go set it up internally in your phone?
correct.
All right, but on an Android, it comes in there.
Yes, part of the software.
And when we're talking about this slide in particular, you asked a lot of questions about type of activity. So I just want to ask you, when you look at call detail records, does data information also come in on the call detail records?
It can, yes.
All right, so we have a few different types of information that you get in call detail records, right? You get if the phone is actually utilizing a tower, and it would, is that correct?
Yes.
And it would utilize a tower if a call came in. Is that correct?
Yes,
What about a call going out?
yes,
All right. What about text coming in?
yes,
What about a text going out?
yes,
Now, if that incoming call goes to voicemail, is it still using a tower?
yes.
And does that go back to earlier questioning I asked you about how a tower and a cell phone work together?
Yes,
Okay. So when I'm looking at this slide, all of these times on this slide, the red blocks, those are indicative of either, and correct me if I'm wrong, either a text coming in or out or a phone call coming in or out.
correct. For the
That-
Sprint phone, yes, for this
Oh.
slide.
Oh, right, for this particular slide on 4931.
Yes,
And this 4931 account was also associated with that Google account.
correct.
So when we see all of these blue Google account, what do you call those little symbols?
I'd say that's a Wi-Fi symbol.
All right, I like it. All right, when I see all those Wi-Fi symbols, do those symbols mean that someone is actively using the phone?
No,
All
not
right.
necessarily.
Is that something that Google data or Google actually does with their location data, where it's like pink, 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 laying out where the phone is through one of the three ways you discussed earlier?
Yes, that's Google obtaining location information for that.
Okay, and we talked about the three ways they would do that, right?
Yes,
GPS points, cellular signal, or an attempt to connect to Wi-Fi.
correct.
And would you agree with me in this slide? So we have the phone number, the device, the phone number associated with the device, and the Google data associated with the device on one slide. Would you agree with me?
Yes,
And that data shows, along with the calls, that the device, the location of the device is moving along with the tower activity, the call detail activity.
yes.
All right, no further questions.
Can I just ask one question
Absolutely.
about Ms. Shackelford's questioning? You just testified that the Google account we have listed here is associated with the 419 number. But if I were to log into my Google account in a friend's phone and I never logged out and that friend continued to walk around with my Google in her phone because we never logged out of it, would my Google account then be associated with her account? Or I'm sorry, with her cell phone?
Yes, so the location information that's shown here from Google is coming from that account. It's not necessarily coming from a specific device.
Okay, so when you say is associated, it doesn't really, well, I don't know if you said that, I'm sorry. But whenever someone says this Google account is associated with that phone, that's not exactly what it means, right? It just means that that device that Google account was being used in those locations, but may not have been used by that phone number.
That's accurate, yeah.
Okay, so sorry, just to clarify. So that means that this Google account may not have been used by that 419 number.
That's possible, yeah. It just means that that Google account was used,
Okay, and we can't tell if that Google account was used by that phone number or not.
not from these records, no.
Okay, thank you.
Judge, I have a brief follow-up.
Go ahead.
So I want to ask you about that. So we see the actual device using towers along that route, right?
We
That
do.
4931 number that is associated with the Google account is moving on up that map towards Sumter Township, correct?
Correct.
And at the same exact time, the GPS data from Google is also moving at the exact same time up into Sumter from Ohio.
That's correct.
What is that indicative of to you?
It's indicative that the phone, the 4931 phone, and that Google account are moving in the same direction at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Slide 12.
I do have some questions. Okay, is it all right if I come over here? I think it might just be easier if I
If you want to point, go
Is
ahead.
that okay? Okay,
Go
thank
over
you
there
very
and
much.
point.
Thank you. Okay, and can you see this TV all right?
I can, yeah.
Okay, so over here, I'm specifically looking at this 513 number. So over here, this pings, so to speak, this 513 number at 11:43 over here, right? Is that correct?
You're looking at 11:35.
Yep, I'm sorry, 11:35, yes. And then 3 minutes later at 11:38, it pings it over here by Rawsonville and Martz Road. Is that right?
It uses that tower, yes.
It uses that tower, okay. And so when we're talking about location, someone couldn't possibly drive from this location where this tower is to where that tower is within a 3-minute period, right?
Directly to where the tower, the base of the tower?
Yes.
Not exactly sure of that distance, but it looks fairly far for 3 minutes.
Okay, and in your mapping, did you determine the distance between these towers?
There's a small scale on the bottom there.
I see that.
It's on there.
But you didn't determine how far driving-wise these two towers are from each other?
From base of the tower to base of the tower, no.
Okay, so
Can I ask you a question? Point your pen in the middle of that. Up, like in between the two towers. No, like,
here?
yeah, or over to the right just a little bit. No, okay, anywhere. Right, like right there. So at some point in that general area where she's pointing, it could pick up on either tower. There's some distance, there's some mathematical distance between the two that you said that the phone would be like, okay, I see you and I'm putting you first and you're second or whatever. And as you're moving closer to the higher tower, it's somewhere in that general vicinity, I would imagine, correct? That it could pick up either one, and then as it moves closer to the higher one, that would become the predominant one, and the one that's at the bottom of the screen would become the secondary or whatever. Is that correct?
Correct. The towers are engineered to overlap coverage so that when you're driving between them, you don't lose if you're on the phone, you don't lose your call.
So you don't know what the circle coverage is, that if she drew a circle around the lower one and a circle around the higher one, you don't know what the intersecting circumference of the area of the overage is.
Correct. There's some overlap there, yes.
Okay, just curious.
No, great question. And just to follow up on that question, if someone was here, so to speak, they could hit, that cellular device could hit or use this tower, or this tower, right?
That's possible, yes.
Okay, so it's possible it could hit off any of these three towers if they were in this area.
That's correct.
Okay, and so based on this 513 number, it hits off this tower, and then 3 minutes later hits off this tower, right?
Correct.
And then another less than 2 minutes later, it then hits off this tower.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so we have a device then that's utilizing all three towers in this area within a 5-minute time period, right?
Correct.
Okay, and these are the only three Sprint cell towers in this general vicinity, right?
There's one off to the right side that I can see.
And would that be this one that you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yes.
Okay, and so from, say, this, I guess we're looking within these two boxes, those are kind of the only three cell towers in that general vicinity.
For Sprint, yes.
For Sprint, yes. Okay, all right. And, while I'm up here, you have written here, homicide at approximately 11:45 p.m.
you got that information from law enforcement, right?
From the state police.
Okay, and that wasn't something that you determined on your own, right? Okay. That is all that I have for this slide.
Nothing on this one.
Anything else?
Can I redirect real brief?
Yep, absolutely, go ahead.
So you said it's possible that that device could communicate with all those towers. And I don't want to walk all the way over there, but, so if I'm looking at that house on, I know it's possible, but is it probable?
Which house do you?
If I'm at Sumter, if I'm at the house down there, the little yellow block, that Judd Road house, is it possible or probable that I could be hitting on all three towers?
So if you're at that house, I would expect, based on my training and experience, I would expect that tower just south of that house to provide coverage to that house. I wouldn't expect those other towers to provide coverage to that house.
Okay. And then if I'm driving up, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to walk over. And say this is my device and I have it, okay? And I decide I'm gonna leave this house and I'm gonna travel on up Sumter Road, about 3 miles, right? 3.5, 4 miles, in between 3 and 4. I'm gonna leave this location, I'm gonna travel on up to Hull Road. Is it possible or probable that I would hit that tower while making that route?
The tower to the left you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm sorry, this call that's at 11:38.
Yes.
Okay, it's which one?
That's probable that you would hit that on the way up.
And if I was in this area right here, say I am gonna go hang out at Citgo or a crime scene that we have on this map, can you tell me, if my phone is right in this area, what tower, in your professional opinion as an expert, would you expect my phone to have contact with?
Based on my training and experience, I would expect it to connect to the tower just to the north.
Okay.
Of
Which
that.
would be the tower that we have this azimuth, or I'm sorry, in the, what sector would that be?
For the Sprint phone,
Yes.
it'd be 135 would be the azimuth for that
Okay.
sector.
So would you agree with me that while it's possible this phone could be here and maybe possibly hit off these towers, in your training and experience, it's not probable?
I would say that most likely it would connect to the tower just north of that crime scene.
Okay.
That would be-
But if it's traveling up Sumter, does this surprise you?
No, not
Is
at
that an anomaly?
all. No, ma'am.
Would you expect that based on the locations of the towers in the area?
Yes, based on the overlapping coverage in that area, yes.
Okay, and you were asked another question about tower to tower and the base of the tower to the base of the other tower. Is that in any way relevant to your, when you examine cell phone records, where the base of the towers are?
Not usually, no.
Because these are radio waves.
Correct.
No further questions.
Anything else?
So if I was driving here, right, at Sumter and Bemis, is it your testimony today that if I was here at Sumter and Bemis at 11:48, that it's more likely for me to hit off this tower way over here than this tower right here? Is that your testimony?
The location you just
Here.
pointed to?
Yep, right here, Sumter and Bemis.
I wouldn't say it's more likely. I would say it's possible that I could be using either one of those towers at that point the specific point where you pointed to.
Okay, so if I'm here at Sumter and Bemis, it's true that it's more likely that I would hit off this tower than that tower, right?
I would expect the first tower that you pointed to, yes.
This tower.
Yes.
Okay. And these shaded areas here, those don't really represent the whole coverage area of this tower, do they?
No.
Okay.
No.
And you can't say why a certain device hits off a certain tower, can you?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Let me rephrase my question. Devices hit off different towers for a variety of reasons, right? It's not just signal strength or proximity.
Well, it's based on the strongest, clearest signal. That's why your phone chooses that tower.
Okay, but there are other things that play a factor in that as well, right? Like weather, building obstructions, trees, radio traffic or frequency traffic, maintenance on a certain tower. There's a number of things that also play a role in why a phone selects to connect off a tower, right?
Things like weather and trees are very minimal effect.
Okay, but what about the other things I mentioned? Radio traffic, buildings, maintenance on a tower. Those things all play a role in which tower a phone selects to connect to, right?
Well, in this instance, I have no information to indicate there was any maintenance done on the tower, or that. Bottom line is the phone connected to that tower. So if there's maintenance being done on the tower, it's not going to connect to that tower. Or if the radio traffic, I'm not sure what you're asking with the radio traffic.
So I'm actually asking a different question. I'm asking a more generalized question. In general, those are things that play a role why a device picks a certain cell tower to connect to. So in general, would you agree with me that those are things that play a role in why a cell phone or any device connects to a certain tower?
No, I don't think I would agree with all of those things.
Okay, what about buildings?
Buildings can.
Okay, and other traffic, meaning a lot of devices connecting to one tower in one area, wouldn't that play a role in why a phone selects one tower over the other?
No, either the device sees the tower or it doesn't.
Okay, so if there's a lot of people using one tower in a certain area, that won't cause the device to pick a different tower?
No, that device is still going to have to be within that coverage area to select it. It's going to collect that strongest, clearest signal.
Okay, let me ask the question one more way. So if, say, I'm here, or here, anywhere, really here, and say there's some very large festival, strawberry festival or something, and there are hundreds of thousands of people all in this area, and they're all connecting to this tower. Would my phone then try to connect to this tower because it isn't able to connect to this tower due to the traffic?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Nothing further on this slide, Judge.
Slide 12?
This is 12, and we'd be going to 13.
13.
I do have a couple questions about this one. And is it okay for me to go up to the screen again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great.
And
So-
Your Honor, and I would just ask for in the future, because of the way the records came in the first time, if we're referring to a particular phone, can we refer to it by the last 4 digits?
Yeah.
Just so the record
Sure.
is clear?
That's fine.
And if we're pointing to a particular point on a map, can we just say that point so that we know for the record if we're preparing for trial?
Which of course we are, so no problem. So this slide here is slide number 13. And the area that I want to direct your attention to is this green box here. Well, it has some green, I don't know, dashes around
The
it.
highlighted box.
The highlighted box, the only large box depicting the
Don't overdo
alleged
it.
crime scene
We
here.
can look at the slide.
Okay,
Know what
wonderful.
we're talking about.
So this all right here is one home, right?
Yes, where you're pointing to, yes.
Yes, okay. But the dot that's marked crime scene is pointing over here to the right. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so in reality, the crime scene is actually this whole house, not just this small point right here on the right.
That's
I believe the house is a duplex type house.
Okay, so what caused you to put this white dot on this side of the house instead of this side of the house?
The address that I received from the state police put the crime scene on the right or the east side of that residence.
Okay, so you got information from state police that the crime scene was on the right side of this duplex, not the left side of the duplex.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay, and that's what caused you to put this dot on the right side.
Yes.
Okay, now, say for example, if the crime scene actually occurred on the left side of the duplex instead of the right side, your dot would be somewhere over here, right?
It could be,
I'm
yes.
sorry, my pen's moving.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and if your dot was over here, that would be outside of this whole radius, right? So let me see here. Sorry to invade your space. If your crime scene dot was over here, meaning that the crime happened on the left side of the duplex, that does not encompass any of these radiuses, right?
Where you're pointing right now
Yep.
is outside of those circles, yeah.
Okay, so if we were to move this crime scene dot over to the left side, it would not encompass any of this radius.
That's true.
Okay.
I do, Your Honor. Okay.
Go
I don't
ahead.
know if other witnesses or other attorneys now. Judge, can I
Oh,
have an
Mr. Goldstein or Ms. White, you don't have any
No.
questions?
Judge, can I have an opportunity to review my exhibits? Because there's one particular in there that needs to.
Yep.
Excuse me, I need to speak to the court. I don't know how we're going to address. We have an issue with my client. He wasn't given high blood pressure medication this morning.
Does he usually get that from the jail?
Yes, and he has passed out without the high blood pressure medication. I would have let the court know immediately had I known early this morning.
Yeah, is there any way that you guys can go down
Make a
and,
trip to the county jail.
And pick it up?
If you'd like that.
can you do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, that,
Right now, that he needs an ambulance or anything possible.
No, but, no, it just regulates his blood pressure. So,
That's not a trip right now.
okay, oh, I appreciate that. Okay, that's great, thank you.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
it's Mr. Evans. Yo, I'm sorry. Yo, yes.
Do you want to go use mine? She's fine.
Okay, should I continue?
You can, no, you can, we're not gonna change the screen for a minute, but you can go ahead and go.
Okay. Special agent, you were just asked some questions about whether or not the crime scene was maybe out of the bubble, okay? Do you remember those?
Yes,
All right, and you were given a location for a crime scene, right?
correct.
I want you to take a look at your slide 13 along with People's Exhibit 44. Do you see this house far off the screen that kind of has this weird shape and this driveway? It kind of goes pretty far to the right there. All right, and I want you to look at it and compare it to your map on 13. Do you see this shape of this house right here?
I do.
Does that appear to be the house there?
It looks similar, yes.
All right,
Yeah,
look at this
looks
back
like it.
shape and how it cuts over. Now, the reason I'm asking you that is because a previous witness has testified with respect to the house. Do you see this?
Judge, I'm going to object. The prosecution is raising prior witness testimony and feeding prior witness testimony to this witness for the purpose of this questioning. I think that's improper.
Let her finish the question and then I'll address it.
And Your Honor, it's, okay.
Finish the question.
So do you see this strange shaped house here on the edge of your map, right? And you
Yes.
were asked specifically by defense counsel about what if the crime scene was over here on the edge of that house, okay?
Yes.
Now, I want you to look closely. You see this house and you see a driveway there. You see another driveway here. Oh, and look it looks like you're using the same Google map. You see the same vehicles in there?
Correct.
All right, and then you see the house right next door and you see one driveway in the red and another driveway in the red?
Yes,
And do both of those, does that appear to be the house next door?
it does.
That house next door that's circled on People's 44, would you agree with me that these red bubbles for all of these geolocations are covering the house that's circled on People's 44
Yes, I would.
and not the house hanging off the end there on that map? That looks like it's next door, right?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions.
Judge, if I could just ask one question.
Sure.
So this crime scene dot you have right here, and again, we're on slide 13 in the green box. This dot here for the crime scene. From this picture, looking at this slide, it only encompasses this one large radius. Is that correct?
That white dot, yes.
Okay.
Judge, I have one more question. And sir, is that white, little tiny white dot on your map, is that the whole house?
It
Or is
not.
it just pointing to the house where you were told the crime occurred?
That's correct.
All right, and you see those red dots and you see the two driveways, does it look like lots of those red dots cover the house that you're pointing to as a crime scene?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nothing further, Judge.
Moving on to 14.
I have no questions concerning 14.
No questions, Your Honor.
SWAT.
No question.
15.
Just briefly, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go up here. It's just easier so that
No,
we're
it's
all
fine.
looking at the same thing
No, you're
here.
fine.
Okay, so the azimuths on these. This 7090 number, the azimuth at 1153 is 270, right? Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And then the azimuth on the number ending in 8723 at 1154 is 15. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are those azimuths going to be different based on different cellular companies?
Yes, the cell company sets those azimuths up. They can set them in whatever direction they choose.
Okay. Now, what does this mean over here? It says Wi-Fi 3772 meters not shown for display space. What does 3,772 meters represent?
So that's the radius, the accuracy radius of that Google location record, that specific record at 1158.46.
Okay. And that, okay. Okay. No further questions.
No questions, Your Honor.
No questions, Your
Ms.
Honor.
Shackelford.
No, Your Honor.
16.
I have no questions, Judge.
None, Your Honor.
None, Your Honor.
17.
No questions.
One moment. No questions.
No questions.
18.
No questions.
Yes, Your Honor. Agent Gavin, you understand you've been qualified as an expert in this case.
Yes.
And in developing your expertise, did you have to study statistics and statistical analysis?
I'm not sure what.
Did you have to study, or in your education, did you study
Yes,
statistics?
in my education, I did, yes.
Yes. And in your study of statistics and statistical analysis, did you ever hear the phrase sample size?
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Sample size is the number of items within a particular set of data. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
And would you agree that the bigger the sample size, the better the sample size?
Yes.
Because with small sample sizes, you might get what's called an anomaly.
That's possible.
And the bigger the sample size, you spread your data over a larger area, more tests, more investigation, more dates, you might get a more accurate representation. Is that a fair statement?
In my understanding of statistics, yes, that's true.
The slide that's there in front of you, on the left-hand side, you show, or is shown, the number of pings or hits or whatever you want to call them at a particular location from January 1st to January 7th, 2017. Is that
To
correct?
June 7th, yes.
I'm sorry, June. I'm sorry, yeah. I'm going to ask you a hypothetical as an expert. Let's say we have an individual by the name of Arthur Richardson. And Mr. Richardson lives or spends a lot of time at the 14th Street address. Okay? Follow me so far?
Okay.
On June the 7th, Mr. Richardson knows that he is going to be sentenced in the Toledo Municipal Court with the potential for going to jail. That, follow me so far?
Yes.
All right, before I go on, I'm going to ask you a question. There's a number of little blue dots, blue markers in the left-hand side. Do each of those markers indicate a time, specific time, when the phone in question or the Google account in question was being read at that location?
Yes, each one of those dots or symbols indicates that a Google location was taken at a specific time.
Do you think it's possible, given the concept of sample size, that the fact that he was at that location during that period of time and was facing the possibility that he was going to jail might affect the number of uses of that phone during that period of time?
I mean, Judge, I'm going to object to that speculation. It's not a hypothetical.
Give me the question again.
Based upon your experience, could those factors have affected the number of times that phone was used in that 7-day period?
And what's your objection?
I mean, he's asking him, would you go visit this residence more? I think it's speculation. Would someone go
No.
visit their mom?
I
No,
think,
use the
but, yeah,
phone.
no, stop. I'm gonna let him answer it. Go ahead and answer it if you can.
Well, I'm not entirely sure I understand the question, and being hypothetical, that was not relevant to my analysis.
I understand that. That's why I didn't expect it to see in your report, but I'm asking you now. You show 21% of the total locations on that Google account for 7 days or six plus days.
No, it's more like 6 months.
No, I'm talking January 1st to January 7th.
It's January 1st to June 7th.
I'm sorry, January 1st to June 7th, okay. In the period just before June 7th, if the holder of that phone or the owner of that phone or the possessor of that phone was facing going to jail, might that have affected the use of that phone?
You're asking me a hypothetical that
Okay, if you can't
No,
answer, just
yeah,
say.
I can't answer that.
That's fine, I accept that. From June 8th through August 31st, you show the same location.
yes.
The uses of that phone at that location didn't disappear, did they?
Well, again, it's not the usage of the phone, it's that
The
Google
presence of the phone.
The Google account recorded locations at that residence during that time period.
Okay, so if I rephrase it and said presence of the phone rather than use of the phone,
Again, it's not the phone, it's the Google account.
well, isn't that Google account associated with the phone?
It is not associated with a specific phone. Again, that Google account was used. I can't tell you if it was used by a phone, by a computer during that specific time period.
Well, then Judge, I'm going to object to this. That's not relevant. If they can't tie it to something to do with this case, which is the phone number, then how is it relevant?
Ms. Shackelford.
Judge, I think it's highly relevant. I think what the expert has already testified to and what we've seen throughout the records is we've seen that Google account moving literally
Along
at the
with
exact
the
same
phone.
time as the phone device.
Along with the phone, but he just said he can't tie this data
He
to
has
that
said
phone.
that from the beginning, Mr. Goldstein.
I'm sorry?
He has said that from the beginning,
Right.
that the Google account is it's separate from the phone, but they have the other the other slides that show them moving tangent with each other. And so it's her circumstantial evidence to prove.
Well, you're
So I'm gonna overrule you. I understand what your objection is, and that's for a fact finder to decide in a jury trial on whether or not that circumstantial evidence lines up, that it was that phone connecting with that Google account, or that they were in one, that it was on, that same phone. That's her argument to make, and that's your, argument to make against. But for today's purposes, I'm gonna allow it.
That's fine. Can I just ask one more question? there?
Absolutely.
Okay. Agent Gavin, based upon what you just said, you cannot tie the phone number, the 4931 number, to that location on any specific date. Isn't that true?
Not on this slide, no.
Yeah, okay.
There's another slide that shows that, but not on this slide.
Well, I don't know if it shows it with this location, Judge, but it shows at other locations. Yes, I agree. Okay, I'm talking about this specific location. So this data does not help us determine when that phone or the phone associated with that phone number was at that location.
This data is just based on that Google account.
Right, which can come from other sources other than the phone.
It could, yes, it's possible.
I'm sorry, I have nothing further.
Anything else? Ms. Shackelford, anything?
No, Your Honor.
19.
No questions, Judge.
Same question with regard to this slide as the last one. This shows the Google account. It doesn't show the phone.
That's correct. This slide shows the Google account.
And 20.
I do have some questions about this one, Judge. First of all, this slide says most frequent accounts. Is that the same thing as a
Contacts.
pattern of life type of analysis?
Not necessarily. No.
Can you explain to us the difference?
Between,
What you've done here on this slide and a pattern of life analysis?
so a pattern of life analysis is more of location-based. What time does the person get up? What time do they go to bed? What places do they frequently visit? It's not, the top context is part of that pattern of life, but not encompassing.
Okay. Were you asked to complete a pattern of life analysis on any of these devices?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And were you, is this most frequent contact slide, is that something that's commonly placed in CAST reports?
Yes.
Okay. Were you specifically asked to complete one, or did you choose to do so on your own?
I was asked to complete this.
You were asked to complete this?
Yes.
And were you asked to complete this most frequent contacts only for this 4931 phone number?
Yes.
So you were not asked to complete a most frequent contacts on the 8723 phone number?
No.
Okay. And in this most frequent contacts list for this 4931 phone number, the 8723 phone number, that is not in the most frequent contacts from June 1st, 2017 to June 7th, 2017, right?
It is not.
And again, same question. That number, the 8723 number, is not listed as one of the most frequently contacted numbers from June 7th, 2017 to June 23rd, 2017, right?
It does not show up in the top 5, yes.
Thank you.
And it's that when it's contact, it's whether it's text, call, it's contact with that other phone.
Correct.
You just stole my question, Judge.
Sorry.
Was the cutting off on June 23rd, was that what you were instructed, or is that what you did?
No, that was based on the records that I had.
Nothing further.
I have just one. So when we're looking, you were asked a question about are they calls or they texts. If I look over in the columns here, it says voice, SMS, and total. Voice would be what, sir?
Like a voice call.
Okay, and SMS would be,
That's a text.
okay, so we actually have that information for all of the numbers that are the top 5 most frequent called numbers
Yes.
or contacted numbers.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Just so I understand, Agent Gavin, looking at the bottom set of statistics, it says totals from June 17th to June 23rd. Does that mean there were 1,577 voice calls
Yes.
and 221 messages?
Yes.
SMS means messages, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the most frequently called numbers total maybe, I'm going to real roughly 200,
We're looking at the bottom
Yep.
section here.
roughly 200.
I've got a total of 60. Is that?
No, the five most frequently
Oh,
called.
totaled up.
Yep.
Yeah, looking at it quickly. Yeah.
200 out of 1,500.
Yes.
77, okay, thanks.
Ms. Shackelford?
I have just one more question. So when we're looking at the June 7th to the June 23rd, can you tell me what is the most frequently contacted number in between June 7th and June 23rd?
It's be 567-315-7414.
Nothing further.
Anything else on the slide?
Nothing on the slide.
Okay, so we're done with the slides. Ms. Joseph, any further cross to you?
Yes, Judge, and I'll be as brief as possible. So this CAST report that we've been going over all morning, this report cannot tell us who was using the devices we've discussed at the time that they were in use, right?
Correct.
Okay. And when you created this report, you were given the time of the alleged homicide and the location of the alleged homicide, right?
Yes.
And in creating this report, you received information from Google. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you used the information you received from Google to create this report, right?
Yes.
But you don't have any knowledge whether the information you received from Google is accurate. Is that true?
I have no information to indicate that it's not accurate.
Okay, but you also, so you don't know whether it is or is not accurate.
In my training experience, the information that I received from Google in the past has always been accurate.
And I believe you've testified that you did not actually go and look at these cell towers in person, right?
I didn't testify to that, no.
Okay, so did you go and look at these cell towers in person?
I have looked at the one particular tower that covers the crime scene, yes.
Okay, so you went and visited the tower that covers the crime scene in person.
Yes.
When did you do that?
Approximately probably in the fall of last year.
Okay. Did you see that tower at all in 2017?
No.
And have you reviewed, in creating a report, did you review any sort of land surveys or maps depicting what buildings were in that area back in 2017?
No, I did not.
It's true that you can't testify today exactly how reliable this report is or how accurate it is, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Can you testify today that this report is 100% accurate and reliable?
I can testify that in my belief that report is accurate and reliable, yes.
Okay, but you can't say 100%, right?
I don't put a percentage on it, but I can testify that it's reliable and accurate.
Okay. The method used to create this CAST report, isn't it true that the cellular industry does not recognize that method for determining location?
That's not true.
Not true? Okay. The CAST method, isn't it true that it's proprietary and it's not peer reviewed by anyone else other than members of the FBI?
It's peer reviewed by other cast members, yes.
So it's not peer reviewed by other scientists or cell phone analysts that are not members of the FBI.
You speaking that specific report, or?
I'm speaking about the software used to create this report.
I'm not sure what you're asking. That report was reviewed by another cast member.
Okay, this report was not reviewed by another member who was not a part of the FBI or the CAST team.
That's true.
Okay.
Which is different than what your question
And-
was, though. You asked about the technology.
Yep, so it's kind of a two-part question. So
Okay.
the technology used to create this report, has that technology been peer reviewed by anyone outside of the FBI?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you conduct any drive-by tests or anything like that to corroborate anything in here?
Drive-by test?
Yes, it's my understanding that sometimes when cast members, in my experience, sometimes cast members conduct drive-by tests of areas and use a device to determine the radio frequency signal, the strength of that signal in that exact location, and the distances and directions the waves are traveling. So it's in my experience that cast members have done that before, especially when evidence of this type is so important. So did you do that in this case?
I did not do that in this case, no.
Now, would the wattage of a particular tower, would that affect which tower a device utilizes or pings off of?
The power of the
Yes.
tower. So that's all engineered by the phone company. So the way they can up the coverage area is by changing the power to the tower.
And in this case, did you analyze the wattage of the cell phone towers that we've discussed this morning?
No, I did not.
Would the tilt of an antenna on a cell phone tower, would that affect which cell phone tower a device might select?
The tilt can change the coverage area again, yes.
And did you analyze the tilt of the antennas in any of these cell phone towers we've discussed this morning?
No, ma'am.
Did you analyze whether any of the cell phone towers we've discussed had any maintenance done to them back in June of 2017?
I received no information that any of them had received any maintenance.
So you've said, you just testified you received no information. Did you request any information about any of the maintenance records for these cell phone towers?
I did not specifically request any maintenance records, no.
And these cell sectors, it's just an estimated general area, right? It's not a GPS location, correct?
That's correct.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
No questions, Your Honor.
Any follow-up, Ms. Shackelford?
Just a few. Special Agent, have you used this cell tower analysis before? What kind of cases could you use this in, and does the FBI use it in?
Use it in all kinds of cases, anything from drug trafficking, gang cases, to kidnappings, to terrorist events, missing persons, all kinds of cases.
All right, and what if I get in a car accident, right? And I call 911 on my phone and say, help me, and my legs are broken or whatever, and I don't know where I am, it's dark, come help me. Would you use this type of analysis in that instance?
Yes.
All right, and would it, what kind of information would it give you to help you locate wherever I am?
Again, it would give you the cell that you were using, the sector that you were using, and the general geographic area of where you were.
Okay, so you can narrow it down to an area.
Correct.
And is that used in kidnappings by the FBI?
Yes, it is.
Is it used for terrorist events by the FBI?
Yes.
All right, and is it used in other catastrophic events by the FBI?
Yes.
All right, is this technology, I mean, obviously technology is always getting better. We can agree to that, right?
Yes.
But is this a tried and true technology that the FBI has been using for years now?
Yes.
No further questions.
Two brief questions. Has a cast report ever been wrong before?
My cast report?
No. Ms. Shackelford asked you a series of questions about how these cast reports are used in all types of cases. So my question is, in general, like her question was general, in general, has a cast report produced by the FBI, they've been wrong before, right?
I'm not aware of any instance of that.
Okay, and how many cast reports have you done before this report?
Say in the hundreds.
Thank you.
Anything else to this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing.
All right, thank you very much. You're excused.
And Your Honor, can we just have a brief 5-minute break so that Ms. McDuffie can get the technology set up for the next witness?
And Your Honor, can my client,
Restroom?
yeah.
Yeah, but Ken, we'll take a 5-minute break.
And Harlan.
I'm gonna turn off the live stream.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. I just gotta get off.
Huh?